haven't been here for 30 minutes, so I think you're lying.
You're lying.
All right, looks like it started okay.
You're lying.
You're lying. 4.6. What questions do we have? I heard 5.
5 and 9.
5 and 9. So let's go with 5. Evaluate the determinant using expansion by minors about the first column. I did not show you using the minors. It's more work. You're doing much more work. So I don't do that one. What I showed you to do was to that's computer science math. Camera here. So let's take a look at finding the determinant for this problem using the matrix augmentation. So to do that, first thing you had to do was to expand the matrix by rewriting the first two rows. -3, 0, 5, 0, -3, 8. Okay? Not a bad part, right? Okay, so let's start with our first 3 rows. So here's 1, 2, 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply those diagonals, and then we're going to add the value of the 3 diagonals. So the product of the first diagonal happens to be, what is it, 18? Now, do you guys remember yesterday I did say it's something minus something, right, all the time? Good. So please remember that. It'll be something minus something. Now here I'm going to put the yellow diagonals in here. So -3 times -3 is a positive 9. 9 times 2 is a positive 18. Now, because there's a 0 in there, what's the product here going to be? So I'm going to add 0. And there's also a 0 in the third column, so I'm going to add 0 there. So what I'm doing is pretty much is adding the product of all 3 of those columns. Okay? So this first thing I have is 18. And then I'm going to go to the other side. And this time I'm going to use the diagonals that kind of go upward this way. So here we go, here we go, here we go. So let's start with the first one. 5 times 4 is 20, right? And 20 times 3 is 60. It looks like it's going to be a positive 60. So here's there was positive 60. Looking at the next diagonal, I've got 8 times 6 times 3. Is it 48? Times 48 times 3. 150 minus 6. So 144? Negative 144? I'll double check that. 8 times, that's not times, 8 times 6 times 3, 144. But it is going to be negative, so negative 144. And then obviously the last column is just going to be 0, correct? So I'm going to take that 144 and I'm going to add 60 to that. That's going to give me a negative 84. Good there? And highlighters or pencils or colored pencils definitely work here. Okay, so you do kind of what I did, because those when I did those in college, those circles like you guys are doing, messed me up all over the place. So go to Target or something, get some highlighters. They really do help. All right. So anyways, here's what I've got. I've got 18 minus a negative 84. Obviously, a negative times a negative is going to make a positive. So I've got 84 plus the 18, which means I've got 102. 102. That's it. That's my determinant. I'd be done. Questions? A lot less work, isn't it? When you see it here.
Wait, so with minors, what is?
With here. So with minors, let me.
Dude, I know.
Yep, that worked. So here's how it works with minors. We're going to start with that -3 here. -3. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that -3. Let's see here. Let me highlight this so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to eliminate the rest of that row and the rest of that column. And that's going to give me a small matrix there. -3, 8, 6, 2, correct? And then I'm going to subtract from that the next, what we call minor. So it's going to be 0 times, let's see, so if I eliminate the rest of this row and the rest of this column, I've got 0, -4, 8, 2, correct? Okay, and then I'm going to add to that the last one.
Oh my god.
Correct. So let me go ahead and do that. So this time I'm going to start off with a 5. And if I get rid of the rest of that row and the rest of that column, I'm going to get 0, -4, -3, 6, correct? So now, going back to the front, it's going to be -3 times this -3 times the 2 minus 8 times the 6, just for the first part. Okay? And then we're going to do the next one. This is going to be 0 times 0 times 2 minus 8 times the -4.
Oh, so you're doing it.
So so you're still doing the determinants, but now you're doing them 3 times, because remember we did 3 diagonals. So you could do that, and then we're going to go plus 5 times, that's not a 5, plus 5 times 0 times a 6 minus, it's going to end up being a 12, isn't it? So minus 12, but that's what you're going to do. Then once you clean it up, you should get the same solution as we had the first time. So -3, I've got -6 minus, what's 6 times 8, 48?
Yeah.
48. So I've got -3 times a -54. Obviously, I'm multiplying by 0, correct? So all this just drops out. And then I've got 0 times 6, which is 0. So 5 times a -12. It's going to be plus 5 times a -12. What's 3 times -54? It's a positive 162? 162. And then what's 5 times -12? -60? So once I combine them, I get my 102. Okay? So, I mean, it's doable. It's doable, but the matrix augmentation is much easier to do than it is with the other one, because it's something minus something, and you remember that rule. Here you got to start with the first one, you subtract the second minor, and then you add the last one. So that's a pattern that you have to remember. It's a little bit tougher. So I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but the matrix augmentation is easier to do. Okay, it's cleaner in my opinion. Okay. All right.
So if we just
Yeah.
the other method on our test.
Yeah. Understand this. If they're just asking for the determinant, remember what matters is the end product, right? Now, if they're asking for a certain step in the augmentation process, then you probably have to do with the minors or whatever. But if they're asking for a specific step in there. But if all they're asking for at the end is a determinant, well, I know how to get a determinant. I can just do matrix the matrix expansion or augmentation, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Good questions. Are we good with this one, or is there anything else we want to ask here, Peyton?
Okay.
Okay. All right, cool. The other question was 9? Yeah. So, for the system below, match each matrix in A through D with its equivalent from choices. Choose the correct answer form for D below. So to find the determinant one, it's going to be just all these coefficients, right? So 5, 3, -2, looks like this one starts off, but it has 6, 5, 3, so that's not it. 5, 3, -2, 6, -5, 3, -2, yep, that's the one right here. Because all these numbers in here match up with the values in there. So check the answer, nice work. Okay, moving on. Now the next one is, choose the correct answer for D sub x. Okay, so D sub x, what's the difference between D and D sub x? What happens? The solution should go in for x. So I'm looking for the one that has the first column that starts with 3, 4, 0. This isn't it. That's not it. That's not it. So it's this one here, 3, 4, 0. I'm just going to double check. 3, -5, 1. -2, 3, 7, -7. So it's definite C again. Check my answer. We're good to go. And they're going to ask us for D sub y. How does D sub y differ from the other two? The solutions are going to be in for, I should make this bigger. Yay, much better. For d sub y. So as I look for the middle column, which is d sub y, I should be looking for 3, 4, and 0, which is c, and that's the only one, right? So it should be c again. We're on a roll. And then we got d sub z. So d sub z should have the solutions or the answers in there. Shouldn't say solutions because solution is going to be to the actual thing. So what we would call the answers in the last column. And D seems to be the only one that does that. So check the answer, okay, and we are done. Questions there? If you were absent yesterday, I know there's a recorded version. It's either first hour or it's the end of the day. I think it's you guys. So go back and watch that.
You always record our comments.
Because we always get through your guys' stuff for some reason.
I don't know how.
It happens.
You don't get through the other classes?
Not all the time. Sometimes a lot of times we run out of time. But that's okay. All right, other questions? Is that it? All right, cool beans. I'm going to go ahead and grab this problem here. And we're going to solve it. Actually solve it, find a solution using the matrix method. And like I said before, there's a couple things you could do, right? I mean, if you have it in this form, you can choose to go with the RREF. Or if you want to do REF and then just plug and chug all the way back to the top, you can do that as well. Since this is using the determinant, then we're going to do the determinant way, okay? You guys ready? This is going to be a little time consuming, so if you feel like just watching this and then going back and drawing your notes out, that's up to you. I would prefer that you just kind of watch what I'm doing because I would hate to make a mistake, especially when it's going to take this amount of time, okay? So look out for my math, is what I'm saying. Let's start with D. D is going to have 5, 6, -2, 3, -5, 1, -2, 3, -7. And I'm going to augment that with 5, 6, -2, 3, -5, 1. Okay? So I'm going to start with something minus something, right? Always something minus something. Highlighter time. So here's 1, 2, 3 rows. So 5 times 5 times 7. So 5 times 5 is 25. That looks like it's 175. Positive, actually. Oops. Positive. Someone check that for me, please. Yeah? Okay. Next one, 3 times 3 times 2. That's definitely going to be a negative. That's 9 times 2, which is 18. And then on the last diagonal, I've got -2 times 6 times 1, which is just going to be a -12. So I've got 175 minus 30. So it should be 145. Someone double check that, please. Awesome, thank you. Now let's go the other direction. Highlighter, use my green. There's 1, 2, 3. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. It looks like it's going to be a -20. Yeah? Looking at the second diagonal, 1 times 3 times 5 is simply positive 15. And look at the last diagonal, I've got 7 times 6 times 3. So it's going to be a negative value, yeah? Negative value. Yeah, I can't do that one. 18 times 7. 126. All right, cool. So what's 146? Negative 146 plus 15. Looks like a negative 131. Someone double check that? Yeah? Okay, cool. So looks like the value of D, and I'll just use red here. The value of D is 276. 276. All right, cool beans. So there's one down, 3 more to go. 1 down, 3 more to go. Because now we've got to do, I'm going to just leave it here. Because now we're going to work with, let me use the green this time, dx. All right, so x is going to change, so I'm going to leave a space there. This should be 3, -5, 1, 2, 3, 7. And I should have 3, 4, 0. So 3, 4. I'm actually going to use this to point out that this column is no longer the original x column from. Thank you. -2 and a -7. Good looking out. That would have messed it up. Okay? So that's the difference between the D matrix and the D sub x matrix. Is that we swap the first column with the solution or the answers in the equations. Okay, let's expand that. So I've got 3, 4, 0, 3, -5, 1. Yeah? Highlighter. Whoops, wrong way. 1, 2, 3. 3. Okay, something minus something. 3 times 5 times 7, so 15 times 7, 75?
105.
Ah, way off. Positive 105, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, 3 times 3 times 0, 0. 2 times 4 times 1, -8. So it looks like we're going to get, was it 97? Yeah? Thank you. All right, cool. Let's go the other direction. 1, 2, 3. First value, 0 times 5 times, 0 times -5 times -2 is just a 0. 1 times 3 times 3 is going to be a positive 9. -7 times 4 times 3, 12 times 7, 70 plus 14, 84. So -84. So we're going to get a -75. Is that correct? Okay. So that means that D sub x is equal to how much? 172? 172. All right. Now we've got to do work with D sub y. So we're going to get, what were the original x values?
5, 6, and 8.
5, 6, and -2?
Yep.
And then we're plugging solutions in for D sub y, so the y column becomes 3, 4, 0. And then z column should still be -2, 3, -7, correct? Okay, so in this scenario, D sub y has the so-called answers in its column, and all the others should be the original values. Okay? All right, let's get through this. Yeah, it is. I said that. That's why I said, watch what I'm doing to check my work, because I hate to make a small mistake, some negative somewhere, and then it's just. We're going to expand 5, 6, -2, 3, 4, 0. And the reason why it's taking a long time, too, is I'm talking through the whole thing. If you're doing this, you're going to blast through this, because it's a lot of easy work.
It's like
It is. It really is. I'm glad you said that. I have it recorded. Something minus something. Okay? Let's grab the highlighter. So I've got 1, 2, 3 columns. So 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 7, 140. -140. Next column, I've got 3 times 3, which is 9. 9 times -2 is -18. And then finally 0, which means I've got 158 negative. Yeah? All right, cool beans. The other diagonals. 1, 2, 3. 2 times 4 is negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 times 2 is a positive 16. And then I've got 0. 7 times 6 times 3. That's going to be 18 times 7. So 140 minus 14.
Do 42 times 3.
Oh, 48 times 3?
42.
42 times 3?
It's 126. It's negative 1.
Touche. So minus 146.
26.
126? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so we've got, what is that, minus 110? It's a positive 16 and a negative 126. So I'm going to have minus a negative, what did I say, 110? So negative 158 plus 110 is going to leave me with 48. Yeah? Weird. 48. Yeah, negative. So d sub y is equal to a negative 48. Ooh, that's not going to be nice. Finally, d sub z. 5, 6, negative 2. Who has the original
It's 3,
Negative
3, negative 5, 1?
Yeah.
And then we're going to plug in answers, or so-called answers, 3, 4, 0 in the last column. Right? Awesome. Let's expand the matrix. 5, 6, negative 2, 3, negative 5, 1. And of course it's something minus something. We're almost there. That's way off. 1, 2, 3. You get it, right? 0. Yay. 0. 3 times 4 is 12. Times a negative 2 is going to be negative 24. And then 3 times 6 times 1 is just 18. Yeah? So I've got negative 6 here. In the other direction, 1, 2, 3. We're going to got, what is it, 30? 30 plus 20 plus 0. So we're going to take away 50. Right? So dz is negative 56. dz is negative 56. Okay? So you guys have collected all these goodies as we went, right? So what is, here's the way you're going to write the solution. It's going to be d sub x over d, d sub y over d, d sub z over d. Once you do that, you're done. And of course, if you can simplify the fraction, you should. And I think you're going to get fractions for the solutions on all this.
Can you put the full page?
It's going to be beautiful. It's huge. It's huge. Looks like it was done by tiny hands. So, looks like we've got 172 over 276. Simplify that. 48 over 276. Simplify that. Because they're all even numbers, so they'll all reduce. No surprises, right? Good. Good, good. done. So we review today, answer questions tomorrow, test on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
What if we test after fall break like you said yesterday?
Yeah.
I said it was looking like it, but I think you guys have it.
But I don't think.
Do you
There's
really?
no way I'm
Let's do
gonna be
plus
able
three.
Yeah.
I need to
We
like.
have some of it,
You
like
just blasted
some
through all
of the
of it.
topics.
to master it though, like to be able to fully grasp it.
I can't take it this way.
Okay, my brother.
The best.
Okay, so if we come back from break, I'm not gonna hear from you guys. Munoz, we just started. It's Monday, right?
Right, baby. I hate coming back.
We're not like
We'll probably be like that, but we better results.
No, I'm saying because you guys, I don't want to have that argument. So we can test this Friday, or we can wait for Monday when we come back. But then I don't want to hear any.
I go on Monday, so it gives me time to study. I'll have a whole week to study.
No, because we've got stuff to get through. And at the second quarter goes by super fast because you've got, you already had fall break. You're gonna get the turkey break as well, and you get the December break. So we got less days in the second quarter. So there's no like, oh, we'll put off another day, we'll put off another day.
Is this gonna be on there? This long one, right?
All of this will be on there.
Let's do this Friday.
I can do it on my.
Oh, I can just do it Friday.
There's no way in hell I'm studying on fall
Right?
break.
You can just do it Friday.
And see, that's what my opinion was. Like, I don't know. Everyone says I'm gonna study. I know some people will, but not a lot of people will. And yes, if let me stop this because we don't need to record this.